Being on your soul's path means being in your light, being in your zone, being in those higher vibrational thought patterns. But as we experience life's curveballs and detours, is it a sign? Does this mean we've somehow veered away from our soul's path? How would we know if we've stumbled off course or if we're still in the right direction? And are we taking advantage of opportunities in the zone, opportunities to stretch and to grow? I hope today's episode inspires you to look more closely at your own soul's path. So here we go. Hi there, and welcome. My name is Remy, like Do Re Mi. I'm a best-selling author and creator of the Get Unstuck Revolution. I help extraordinary women just like you dissolve the obstacles in your path so you can bring success to you. Now let's get started with today's video. Okay, let me jump off the screen here and see my laptop. Today we're talking about our soul's path and how to know if we're in the right direction or if we've veered off course. We might make mistakes along our journey, but that's expected when we're growing. We may end up broken down or broken open. We may at times feel buried in doubts and frustrations, but once we commit to this growth and refuse to give up, we'll begin to get it right. We'll begin to see success, and we'll have stretched and grown enough to have a new comfort zone and a new level of success. I'm super excited to talk to you today about this new comfort zone. If you aren't getting the success you want in full abundance, however you identify with success, and if you're wanting to tap into a greater knowingness and align with the higher consciousness of your infinite self, instead of the lower ego thinking that pushes desires away, then this episode is for you. It's time to be unabashedly, unapologetically, happily untethered to ego thinking. It's time to align with our soul's path instead. This episode is for you if you wonder whether you've lost your way on your soul's path or are you in the right direction. How to see the truth in a curveball, whether it's there to get you back on course or whether it's a sign to change directions. And the easier, less painful way to stretch and grow. Yes, these episodes are about how to find your hidden power when you want to transform challenges into successes. I like to call it the audacity of alchemy. Because when we're feeling stuck, it's never the situation that has us stuck, it's our energy that's become stuck in anxiety, overwhelm, doubts, worries, frustrations, indecision, and even anger. And often this is because of a spiritual injury that we've experienced, some kind of hidden trauma. So it isn't the pain of the situation, it's the pain of not being connected in the natural energy of who we really are, of being connected to that magical part of us that's a creative vibrational being who can use positive energies to create what we want and bring it into physical manifestation. We can allow our manifestations to materialize and not get stuck in the negative vibrations that block them. These positive energies that we talk about so much are where we find the magic of alchemy, because our choice of frequency, our choice of those higher energy thought patterns can change the course of our journey. So today we're talking about being on your soul's path, being in your light, being in your zone, being in those higher vibrational thought patterns, and how to know if you've veered off course or if you're still in the right direction. I know that people like us who are here to seek and find truth are here to shine our light, helping and inspiring others on their journey and advancing mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. When we're on our soul's path, we're in the right direction. We can feel it. We're in the direction of flow and light. We feel like we're being guided, like we're following the path that's been laid out for us. So, really, discovering our soul's path is about discovering that part of us that feels connected to everything. It's about being awake and striving to stay awake as life throws us curveballs and detours. But as we experience these curveballs and detours, is it a sign? Does it mean that we've somehow veered away from our soul's path? Have we tripped off course? How would we know if we're stumbling or if we're still in the right direction? You know, I recently had an opportunity within my business that with one simple tweak could add six figures to my bottom line. Trouble was, the thought of it scared the bejesus out of me. After I got through my heart palpitations and the dry mouth that came from an undeniable sense of panic, well, I had to ask myself, who are you becoming? Who do you want to be in this situation? Who are you growing into? On the one hand, this opportunity was everything I'd ever wanted. On the other hand, there was every possibility I'd really screw it all up, or better said, it could screw me all up and send me back to a place I might not ever recover from. And so, two things came to mind. One was, if we aren't open to good things happening, how can the universe ever bring us good? It reminded me of one of my mantras, and you've probably seen this one from me before. I'm calling in the blessings of the universe for prosperity and love and all things good. One of my favorites. In other words, because this thought, this mantra, this belief tumbles around inside my head pretty much all day, every day, I had to consider the possibility that this opportunity was something that I was calling in. And it was actually now happening. And this is the one thing to make a little side note of. I don't want to lose track of this. Our beliefs are simply thoughts that we think over and over. It's true. But have you ever recited an affirmation or a mantra with the feeling of it being a belief? In other words, it's one thing to recite a mantra, and it's another thing to consciously consider that mantra a belief. Now, one thing I've done that's been very effective is to put my hand over my heart because that gets me out of memorization or recital mode or being too much in my head. And then I'll say that mantra 3 times, but then I'll whisper belief at the end. So I'll give you an example. With my hand over my heart, I would say, the universe is bringing me blessings for prosperity and love and all things good. Belief. So there's an exercise for you. Take a moment to consider one of your favorite mantras and then hold your hand over your heart, close your eyes, and as you say it, integrate it as a belief. I didn't want to forget that little side note. So, back to the story. So, I had this opportunity within my business that with one simple tweak, I could add 6 figures to my bottom line, and two things came to mind. The first was to stay open to good things happening, because otherwise we don't recognize the universe when it brings us good stuff. And then the other thing that came to mind is that I'm the kind of person who walks straight through my fears. I might not run straight through it 50 miles an hour, because I do reserve the right to take baby steps if that's what's needed. As they say, what's got you stuck is what's keeping you safe. And I don't necessarily want to be stuck in a safe zone. Baby steps are giant steps. I enjoy moving forward. And maybe you can relate. I like to stretch my life and my business into a growth zone. You could also call this the difference between a comfort zone and an uncomfort zone. So let me throw an image up on the screen here for you. You'll notice the circle there that's purple, the smaller one there on the left. That could be considered our comfort zone, and it's the smallest circle. Unfortunately, this is also where our fears and negative emotions live. And then as we move along the growth spectrum, following that arrow there from left to right, we come to the next circle, the one that's pink. So if the first circle is our comfort zone, then this pink circle could be considered our discomfort zone or our uncomfort zone. This is where we are the most uncomfortable because we're stretching ourselves. We're growing. And those fears back there in the comfort zone, they start pulling at us, right? We're willing to move away from our fears and all the ego thinking that creates our negative emotions. We're willing to move away from frustration and uncertainty and worry that we might screw up the best opportunity that may have ever fallen in our lap. But those discomforts, boy, they pull at us. And so we're in this weird place now where we want to stretch and reach for the next levels of success and not get pulled backwards. And then finally, the last circle there along that growth spectrum, and this one on the right is kind of that teal color. This becomes our new comfort zone. And this is where we feel we can take on those opportunities, even if they scare us, and feel confident and certain that we won't screw it up. Right. So that gives you a little bit of an anatomy. So back to the story. I had this opportunity within my business that with one simple tweak could add 6 figures to my bottom line. Right. And so those two things came to mind. One, to stay open to the good that the universe wants to bring us, those absolutely beautiful, life changing opportunities. And the other thing I wanted to remember is that I'm normally someone who walks straight through my fears because I'm someone who enjoys the stretch. And I've got to say, once we understand this anatomy of a comfort zone and that stretching is what helps us overcome the ego thinking that would rather we stay in our fears playing small, well, knowing the anatomy just seems to make it all a little less scary. Makes it a little bit more practical. It makes reaching and stretching for the growth that will bring us new opportunities a little more appealing. In fact, watch this, the ratios of our diagram will begin to change more like this. And our old comfort zones will become smaller and smaller as our new comfort zone becomes bigger and bigger. So today's episode begs the question, have we veered away from our soul's path? And how would we know if we've stumbled off course or if we're in the right direction? Well, life is here to bring us experiences that help us to grow, to get us out of our comfort zone and through our discomfort zones. Our fears, our negative thinking, the doubts and uncertainty and indecision that our ego thinking would love to bury us in, or what makes us stumble. If we're willing to be in the uncomfort zone, that's where we can stretch on through, we can grow, we can move on through, and we develop this new, bigger, more comfortable comfort zone. When we're presented with growth opportunities, it can be overwhelming and uncertain for sure, but we have a critical choice to make. We can either stay in the comfort zone where our fears and negative energies live, or we can stretch and grow and step up to our greatness. At the level of our intuition, we already know what's right for us. We know that our soul's path is to stretch and grow. If we aren't growing, then yes, we've stumbled off course. I'll say that again. If we aren't growing and stretching, then yes, we may have stumbled off course. We might be pointed in the direction of our soul's path, but if we aren't moving through the discomfort in baby steps or in giant steps, then those beautiful opportunities might pass us on by. We lose the job, we lose the client, we lose the girl or the guy. We lose opportunity that could add six figures to our bottom line. The growth zone is a magical place that helps us move beyond where we are and into our next level of success, even though it might be the scariest thing we could ever think of doing. Entering into this zone where we can stretch and grow means things might be uncertain for a little while. We will feel uncomfortable because it is the uncomfort zone. We might make mistakes, but that's expected when we're growing. We may end up in tears. We may at times feel buried in doubts and frustrations, but once we commit to this growth and refuse to give up, we'll begin to get it right. We'll begin to see success, and we'll have stretched and grown enough to have a new comfort zone. And with that comes a new level of success. Our confidence will increase, our certainty will increase, and we'll look forward to new creative challenges. We'll be walking our soul's path with ease and grace. And so I want to give you just one last thought. Just keep in mind during this process to stay grounded and stay balanced. Contrary to popular belief, sometimes life does sometimes life does hand us more than we can handle. And so it's okay to tell our guides, this is too much for me right now. I've bitten off more than I can chew, especially considering that sometimes we come into this life with an agenda of what we'd like to accomplish. And I know that for me, I've been overzealous in some areas. And so it's okay as we stake a claim in our growth to ask the universe for help. And it's certainly okay to tell the universe it's a little too much and could they please back things off just a little bit. After all, up there in those higher realms where our guides and angels live, they don't have human emotions or our human condition. We're all quite naturally reaching for growth. We just have to make sure we don't end up in the quicksand in the process. We want to be committed, but we also want to stay in balance. We want to stay on our soul's path and feel reassured that we're in that right direction. And as long as we're still reaching for growth, as long as we're nurturing positive thoughts and positive energies about our growth, we are on the right path. And we're standing there in the light where our guides can help show us the way as long as we stay in those positive energies and don't get pulled back into ego's negative thoughts. If you know anyone who struggles with these ideas and they wonder if they're on the right path or have they veered off course, I hope you'll share this episode. Our spiritual journey is to bring in the light, to choose higher frequency thought patterns and positive emotions, because our choice of frequency can change the course of our journey, and it can change the journey for others around us. So, reflecting back on everything we covered today, how can you apply what you've learned? As you think back to some of life's curveballs and detours that you've experienced, do you feel you're still on your soul's path? Are you still in the right direction? And are you taking advantage of opportunities to stretch and to grow? Well, I hope this helps you as you're using the powers of alchemy to transform challenges and obstacles into positive new successes. But if you still can't get your head around what's got you stuck, you can tell me about it. You can send me a question to questions at unlockyourhiddenpower, or I also have a free guide available for you if you'll simply visit unlockyourhiddenpower.com. Of course, if you're already right here on the podcast page and not listening through iTunes or one of the others, then you'll see it right there for you at the top of the right-hand column. What is this free guide all about? Well, if you've ever thought to yourself, I need to get my life back, or you're just having a hard time from some of these curveballs and you can't seem to recover from it, then, well, you've maybe and probably suffered invalidation, abuse, or perhaps spiritual injury somewhere along the way. Knowing how to take back your life so you can just move forward is one of the most common questions I get. And fortunately, finding your way back to you is easier than it might seem. This new guide is the first step in getting out of the sheer frustration of being stuck and spinning your wheels on success that seems elusive. So thanks for joining me today, and I'm wishing you a life filled with all the alchemy you need to bring success to you. Feel free to share this video with anyone you know who's feeling stuck, and don't forget to grab your free guide at unlockyourhiddenpower.com.